Hey guys, Eric Floberg here. I am a wedding photographer and filmmaker based out of Chicago, which is a tiny little small town in the middle of the United States. Probably never heard of it. Today we're talking about how I booked and shot a wedding film in Yosemite National Park. And I wore my super hip earth tone t-shirt to match the theme. Let's get started, shall we? Now, you might have seen this film already. It is on my YouTube channel. It is one of my best wedding films. It's my best wedding film in my portfolio. But if you haven't seen it, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the whole thing for you right now. Feel free to skip if you have already seen it, and I'm just gonna dive into how I booked it and how I shot it after it's done. So enjoy if you haven't seen it yet.
I, Tyler, take you, Elizabeth, to be my wife.
I, Elizabeth, take you, Tyler, to be my husband.
Promise to be faithful to you.
In good times and in bad.
And in sickness and in health.
And to love you and honor you.
All the days of my life.
It has been the pleasure of my life over the last several years to get to know you. We went up to Alaska and everything was epic. And it was. You loved it. It was just like a little kid in a candy store. To spend 5 minutes with Tyler is to feel like you know him. I'm very proud to call you my son.
It's beautiful. I love you too.
I cannot wait to watch the rest of your lives unfold. When I asked Tyler to tell me why he loves my sister, I couldn't have imagined a better response. He started with, "Oh my." We make each other better. She's independent, intelligent, focused, and humble. She might be the most caring person I've ever met. She's an absolute knockout and way out of my league.
I'm proud to stand here today to call you my Mrs. Ellie Walters. I cannot wait to start our future together, and what a great celebration to start our family here today. You've held a special place in my heart since the first day we met all those years ago. Your kind and gentle heart, your selfless demeanor, and everything you touch and hold, all of these qualities have led me to you and has led us here today.
When I first met you, I had no idea you would one day be my husband. You were the best surprise ever. Since then, you've opened up my world to laughter and joy and adventure. Thank you for wanting to spend the rest of your life with me.
Today I vow to you to always be your best friend, to make you laugh hysterically to the end of our days, to not only make the bed, but place the throw pillows just how you like them. I vow to stand up and fight for the things we love and hold dear. My convictions and promises go far beyond the words on this paper, so I vow to show and act them on a daily basis.
You've already made me a better person, Tyler Walters. You challenge me when I'm in the wrong, you encourage me in my dreams, and our relationship has taught me how to love like never before.
that was Ellie and Tyler's Yosemite wedding film. It felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I still can't believe I got to do it. I'm so excited to be doing more stuff like that in the future. Okay, now before I go breaking down this whole film, I want to give a shout out to Skillshare, who's sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning platform similar to YouTube, but way more in depth. So if you like videos like this, where you see the breakdown of a creative process, you might want to consider signing up with them, because there are classes that dive way, way deeper into these subjects. Creative editing, photo and video, but there's also design, and there's all sorts of other things outside of that realm even. So if you sign up with them, you can get access to all of their content, all their classes for only $8.25 a month. It's extremely affordable, and you can get the first 2 months for free if you sign up with my link. The first 500 people to do that will get that discount. So go for it, learn some more, get creating. Stop drinking coffee. It's an addiction. On to Yosemite. By the way, it's pronounced Yosemite, just so you don't embarrass yourself in front of your friends and call it Yosemite. Can't tell you how many awkward conversations I've had with people like, you ever been to Yosemite? Do you even wear earth tone shirts, bro? Anyways, I would love to dive into how I booked this wedding, how I shot it, how I went about it, and how I am continuing to book more weddings like it, so that you can hopefully do the same. Now, obviously, this is not the only way you can book a wedding film like this. One in Yosemite, one at a national park, in a cool place. There's all sorts of ways you can go about that, but I wanted to share my experience, what I did to get this wedding, how I executed it, and how I've been using it for marketing. So back in 2016, I was shooting a wedding with my wife, where the photographer was somebody that we knew. She's a dear friend of ours, somebody that I've kept up with in the community here in Chicago. She's an amazing photographer, her name's Jasmine, and we were shooting this wedding together. She was on photo, I was on video, and the bridesmaids were getting ready. And Jasmine just started having this conversation with this bridesmaid named Ellie about her wedding and how it was going to be in Yosemite. And as soon as I heard Yosemite, I just was like, wait, where are you getting married? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm getting married in Yosemite. I'm like, oh, cool. And Jasmine made a joke. She's like, do you have a photographer? And Ellie goes, yeah, it's Nirav Patel. As soon as she said that, I was like deer in the headlights. Like, Nirav Patel is one of my favorite photographers, like hands down. Incredible wedding photographer, incredible portrait photographer. I just responded to, I cut right into the conversation. I was like, you hired Nirav Patel for your wedding? She's like, yeah, you know him? And I was like, yeah. Obviously, my next question was, do you have a videographer for your wedding? And she's like, well, actually, no, we don't yet. I'm like, here's my card. So I handed her my card, didn't hear from her for 3 months after the wedding. Thanks, Ellie. Until I delivered Andrew and Aaron's film. I was secretly hoping that when I delivered that film, when their friends and family saw it, that Ellie would also see it and that she would contact me. That's exactly what happened. She saw the film, she loved it, she emailed me. As soon as I saw all those details, I was like, I'm in. I don't care. Whatever the budget is, I'm going to make this work with them. Obviously, I want to make as much money as I can in this process, but it's going to happen. So I responded with a very positive email back. So good to hear from you. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been hoping to get this email. You guys sound like everything we hope to have in clients and their story. I love your wedding website. It's so rad. I think we'd be a perfect fit. Totally willing to compromise with you guys on your budget too, with an opportunity like this. So I gave information. My packages at that point were $3,000 for a 3 to 5 minute montage film and $3,500 for a montage film with all the raw footage. Then at this point, I was making my clients pay for my travel expenses as well. So to make the deal a bit sweeter for them, I was like, hey, then we can split travel expenses 50-50 if you'd be down for that. So we got on a phone call after that, and they were basically like, you know what, our budget is totally capped at $3,500. I think that's all we can do. And so I was like, you know, I just want to make this happen. We will book our travel. I'll take care of all of that. $3,500 flat. You got us. So they booked, and that's how that process went. And I think the biggest win in that was that I was willing to compromise. They loved my work to the point where I believe I had some ground to stand on, but at the same time, I didn't want to lose them. So I said, you know, we're gonna make this work however it's gonna pan out, with whatever price I'll pay for the travel. Because I knew full well that this was going to be the portfolio piece. Based on their story, what this was going to be like, how cool it was gonna be, adventurous, beautiful, that I got to work with Nirav Patel, like all of these things. And Ellie and Tyler totally knew that. Like they totally knew that that was the case and that it was a sweet deal for me too. So we booked, and we got to talking about their vision and what they were doing, and they brought up that they wanted to do a small ceremony in their Catholic church in Chicago before they went out to Yosemite and did the full big wedding. All right, so let's jump into my head in how I approached the story and the storytelling, as well as the actual execution of how I did certain things. So the film opens up with them in Yosemite. We actually woke up at 3 a.m. the day of the wedding to make sure that we could catch sunrise at Glacier Point, which is this amazing spot in Yosemite where it overlooks Half Dome and the sun comes right up over it when it's July. So we woke up at 3 a.m. It was at least an hour drive to get up there, and we got up there right before the sun came up, and it was glorious. And so this opening shot was just, I literally just threw one of my cameras on a gorilla pod facing Half Dome and caught the sun coming up. I introduce the whole film as being in Yosemite. I wanted the viewer to initially just be like, okay, this took place in Yosemite. This isn't like any other normal Midwest wedding film that I've seen from Eric or any other wedding film really ever. So I wanted to set that tone right away before I started telling the storytelling piece of it starting all in Chicago. So that included some sound design. I layered a lot of like birds chirping and them running and Ellie giggling, and all those different pieces, as well as kind of a swell, and that swell was the actual sound that I captured from one of the waterfalls in the valley of Yosemite, just put into reverse and crescendoed through to the point where it stops and gets very quiet, and then I introduced Chicago. So I had this top-down drone shot coming down into the city where their church is, and go into the ceremony, just a small formal ceremony with their family. This was really important to them to do a Catholic Mass, even if it was small, before they went out to the West Coast to do that. Then we cut to their apartment, and this was a collaborative process with them. When they told me the story of them being in Chicago and wanting to go out and do an adventure in Yosemite, I had this idea in my head. I just wanted to make this so different and unique because of the opportunity. So I had this idea in my head that this like Wes Anderson centered sound design, cool little jump cut sequence section where they're in their apartment, they make coffee, they sit on the couch, and then they pack for Yosemite. And it's this really cool transitional piece of we're going from Chicago to the West Coast. And after that little sequence of them leaving the apartment, I did that shot of the plane kind of going across the sky and layering the Chicago cityscape with it. And so what I did was I had a drone shot of the Chicago skyline. I actually shot that from another wedding, just used it here. And then I was in the Denver airport at some point for some reason and did a shot in 4K just to get some extra reach on the 5D Mark IV, and got this shot of a plane taking off just with the open blue sky. So I layered the two over one another, kind of symbolizing them taking off, taking a plane out of Chicago. And the next shot was a fade in to approaching Yosemite with a drone. Don't worry, I did not fly a drone in Yosemite. That was just entering, like near the park, entering it. So it kind of gives that vibe of like, okay, we're heading in. It really bummed me out that I couldn't fly my drone in Yosemite, but rules, am I right? So the next sequence after the drone shot is a time lapse of the sun going down on Half Dome where it gets dark. And the only way we could get that is we had no time to do that on the wedding day because we were at the venue for the reception as the sun was setting. So we actually went the day before all the wedding festivities and we shot B-roll in the Yosemite Valley. And so I set up my camera to do a time lapse at the bottom. It's on this popular bridge right over a river, just facing Half Dome, got the sun setting and faded it to black. And then there was a stark contrast of that scene where I had the sun rising over Half Dome the next morning at 3 a.m., which was a really cool transitional piece. And once that happened, then I started adding more sound design, the waterfall, just the sounds of the valley echoing, and then introducing them as a bride and groom in Yosemite. It flickers, and I layered the shot of Half Dome with their wedding logo that was designed for them by a friend. It was really special to them. So after that was done, I started going more of a traditional storytelling route from there. Got the trees, the sun flare, her bringing her dress into the venue, and then Tyler getting ready with the guys, with the pool there, really kind of stoic. I love all the greenery, all the trees, so cool. Tyler. And then I introduced her dad, talking. Her dad has like the best voice ever, the best speaking voice ever. So I wanted to include that. It was really special about how he talked about Tyler being a part of their family now. Just so cool to be able to have his voice and the legacy of his voice, especially to them, being family on this film that they could just enjoy for decades. Really cool. So I layered that over some B-roll of like getting ready early in the morning that day, and then started, more storytelling after that. Mom getting her gift, Ellie getting ready, getting really excited, looking out the window, her sister Lauren looking on in excitement as well. And then a transitional piece of all the guests walking to the forest where the ceremony was taking place. I always try to include as many speeches as I can if it makes sense. Like if the speech is really bad, then it's really hard to incorporate. But I really want to bring a glimpse of each part in it. And again, that's not possible all the time if it doesn't fit in the story. But I was able to include some of her sister's speech in there as well. And we cut to the vows, which I believe was like the most emotional and poignant part of their ceremony in the forest. This forest was just right off from where they got ready, and it wasn't even close to the Yosemite Valley. We did all of the stuff in the valley in the most popular part of the park early that morning, all the portraits, all that shooting, and then their ceremony took place like a whole hour drive away from the valley. So I was able to layer really cool B-roll shots over their vows as they gave them, just to indicate that whole adventure. They're incredible at writing. They're super romantic. I just love them a lot. That part of the vows is just so climactic, where Ellie talks about how Tyler has changed her as a person. So cool how that worked with the music. Then it just busted right open to all of like the epic shots of Yosemite. So now I just kind of want to get into the part of the technical way I shot this. Before this, I was shooting on Canon 5D Mark IIIs, which were like archaic at this point. They have no autofocus. They're just not the best. And so I knew that I had to up my gear game for this wedding. I wanted good slow motion. This is around the time where the 5D4 was getting really popular. So I rented the 5D Mark IV for this wedding, and I shot it, a lot of it, especially the early morning stuff, on a gimbal on the DJI Ronin M, which is like the big honkin', like two handles on the side, one on top. It's again, also archaic. I was blown away by what the 5D Mark IV could do, that I could shoot 60 frames per second in 1080p. That was a big deal to me then, and that the codec actually looked good, like the image actually looked way better than the 1080p on the 5D Mark III. But there's other B-roll shots in here that were shot on the 5D Mark III because my wife Sabria was shooting on that camera as well. So a lot of times we were shooting on a Manfrotto monopod, and then I was shooting on the gimbal for most of the important stuff, like the beautiful cinematic sweeping shots and them running down the road towards Half Dome. Like all of that was done with the gimbal, and then I put a warp stabilizer on it in post. It was really cool working with Narav because once it got too bright up there at Glacier Point, I wanted to just keep shooting. I probably would have stayed for like another hour. But he was like, this is getting too harsh. We need to start working our way down to the valley where the light is a bit more even. I'm like, okay, you know way more than I do. And so we went down to this road and we threw dust up in the road, like up in the air, and it was just so cool, this vibe of just like smokiness, but the sun was peeking through on the road, but there was still enough even light in certain pockets where it wasn't too harsh. And so we shot down there, and then I did a bit of a transition piece right into the reception where they're doing their first dance and Tyler does his leg kick. And so more dancing, more fun, another time lapse of the reception. At that point, I didn't know that the 5D Mark IV could do a time lapse in the camera, so I literally just let it roll for like 2 hours. It dealt with the file size and then literally just sped all of that up in post. Now there's time-lapse built into the camera, so I know I don't need to do that anymore. More of a transitional piece into dancing. So for the formal dances, I use these constant lights, which I'm going to do a video on very soon. I do this at every wedding. These two constant lights, one is a key light and one is a hair light, just kind of crossing each other. They're so warm and beautiful and vibrant. And then once the formal dances were over, I just use a small little LED panel to kind of light the dance floor, shooting it all in 60 frames per second to keep it slow, fun, and exciting. In a lot of films I do this, I recall different moments from earlier in the day to kind of dial it all back, to bring it up, to put a bow on it, wrap it up, and finish it. And so this last part was so cool because they were down to just go off into the darkness. And so me and Narav, we literally just put my LED panel, just this tiny little battery powered LED panel right behind them. We threw more dust and smoke into the air. And then I put my tilt shift lens on the Ronin M stabilizer. And it's a manual focus lens, so I was pushing into the shot until they were in focus. And right when they hit focus, that beam of light came up and filled the frame, and it was mind-blowing in such a cool way to end the film. So that's a breakdown of how I did all that. I know it was long-winded. The other really important piece in this and the collaborative effort that I had with them is I found that music by Roary on MusicBed. I send off songs to them that I can license, and normally that's like 10 songs, but I heard this one song and I sent it to them, and they were so down for it because of how dynamic it is, just with going from really soft and beautiful into like really climactic. So what's super cool about this whole process is like I love being able to connect with clients, and Ellie and Tyler have become friends of ours, which is so cool. And having shot their wedding helped us connect even more. Ellie's actually pursuing photography. She took a mentor session from me, so cool. We actually went to their house to show them this wedding film. For the first time they saw, we were sitting next to them. We got to see their like true, authentic, real reactions, and I'm so happy I filmed it with my phone.
You were the best surprise ever. Since then, you've opened up my world to laughter and joy and love like never before.
Freaking nailed it!
Oh my gosh!
Yes!
I never wanted to end!
Oh, so good!
Guys. Like, I expected it to be awesome, but I didn't expect it to be like that. Like, how did you get all those shots? Like...
I also wanted to show you guys kind of their thought process in hiring me and why they wanted to versus somebody else. So here's some thoughts from Ellie and Tyler.
So we had looked up a bunch of videographers in California because we figured, we're like, oh, that'll be easier, it'll be cheaper, you know, we won't have to pay for travel. They might have already shot in this location, so they get it. And we couldn't find anyone that worked. We were like weeks and weeks of looking. We're just like, oh, this sucks. Like maybe
it was like very like commercial.
Yeah.
No touch.
Yeah.
Like,
and like
just
really
kind of like spitting out videos.
Right.
You know?
Really expensive. And so we were like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna do. And that was like perfect timing because then we saw Aaron and Andrew's video, which you had done, and we were like, I think I watched it at work, and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And then I don't know if I hadn't like looked up your stuff when like after you gave me your card at the wedding, but for some reason I hadn't seen the rest of your videos. So then of course I don't know if I did this at work, hopefully not. Hopefully I did it when I got home, but I like watched all the rest of your videos and like showed them all to Tyler, and I was like, these are so good. And I just remember thinking like, the stylistic choices that you were making were really interesting and really cool and very in line with what we wanted. It was like authentic, but very artful at the same time. So that's when we reached out to you.
Did you feel like it sweetened the deal when I was just like, yeah, I'll just pay for the travel? Like,
that was really nice because we were already pushing it. I had promised Tyler, I was like, we just won't get a videographer.
Well, yeah, we didn't even have them budgeted.
Yeah, we didn't have it budgeted at all. And then I was like, oh, I really want, because we had Narav, and so it was like, okay, we're really, you know, investing in photography, and so excited about that. But after seeing these wedding videos and obviously crying, I was like, no, we need a videographer too. Yeah. So that was, and your enthusiasm about it, like the fact that you were so pumped about the location was like sealed the deal as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mentioned in the video, like, I'm pretty sure they knew that I was so hyped about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so were we, so it was perfect. It was like, okay, we know he's gonna do such a great job because he's so stoked about the location too. And just, you know, we'll both just watch it randomly. Just like, yeah, Tyler's like, oh, let's watch our wedding video today.
It's so cool. It's like, I never really valued it, like wedding videos and stuff like that. Until like our video, and it's so cool to, like, we're so proud to like have our children and family watch it over and over. It's gonna be timeless. So we're so excited for it. You did a fantastic job.
So good.
And you, I mean, you know, we feel like a friendship is.
Yeah, exactly. It was such a wonderful
great
connection.
Come across you at weddings is great.
I know.
I know, because like I then shot your sister's wedding, and then I shot Grace and Gabriel's wedding, and now we're going to Hawaii together.
Cool, man.
All right. Can't wait to see it.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Cheers.
See ya. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know it was like really content rich and lots of information and storytelling and all that good stuff. But really, I love doing this for these reasons, for making connections with clients and just doing something so special for them that they can have for the rest of their lives. What's so rad about this situation is I shot her sister's wedding, Lauren. I'm filming friends of theirs and their wedding in Hawaii in just a couple of weeks. So amped about it. But I got that job because of this film and countless others, because this is such a big staple portfolio piece for me now, and it gives me the ability to charge more and to have more weight behind my work. So if anybody ever tells you that charging less or making deals with people to do work is something you shouldn't be doing, I feel like this is a true testament. When you can realize how good of a portfolio piece it could be, then it is worth taking the pay cut to do it, to put it in your portfolio, to make more work later, to make more money later, to book more clients later. To me, it was a no-brainer. We did it. We had a blast. Amazing experience. And I hope you guys can have some of the same. If you liked that video, if you're still here, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below if you have any questions about any of it or something that you're excited to shoot this year. I'm sorry I didn't do more dad jokes in this video. It was just, there's just a lot to get through. And yeah, hope you guys lean into what makes you different. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios, squad fam. Love you guys. See ya. Oh yeah, I'm not just a filmmaker, I'm a photographer too. You can follow me on Instagram right here. Okay, bye.